Hello everybody, welcome to week 2 of our Global Ethics course. I'm recording this video in the villa that Virginia Tech has in Switzerland. It's in a place called Riva San Vitale, and I highly encourage you guys, if you get the opportunity, to come over and visit. It's a really beautiful place. This is the last week that I'm going to be in Riva doing research, and next week I will be back in Blacksburg. Just a few comments about the first week of the course. I thought it went really well. I really enjoyed watching you guys' introductions, whether you posted them on the video or if you posted them in text. I really enjoyed getting to know a little bit about you guys and your background in philosophy. And I encourage everybody in the class to take a look at everybody's videos and try to get familiar with that. Just a few general comments about the course. This is my first time teaching the course on WordPress, so this is kind of an experiment and a work in progress. So if you guys notice anything that could be improved, if you're a whiz on WordPress, let me know, and I'd be happy to take any suggestions that you might have. I personally, just think it gives us more options than Scholar. And I like the freedom that it gives us. So I'm going to try to stick with that. I think it was working pretty well with the first discussion. So we're going to keep moving forward with that. I also thought the quiz on Scholar was okay. I had a few issues with trying to get it to post exactly the right time. I apologize for that. And the next quiz coming up on Wednesday, I'll make sure that it's ready first thing in the morning. Let's see. Just a few general observations from your discussion on Michael Sandel's ethics piece. Overall, I thought the discussion was terrific. I thought that your discussion was every bit as sophisticated as the discussion that Sandel's class had at Harvard. So any worries or thoughts you might have that are you up to the standard of Harvard, I think you clearly answered that through your discussion. I was very impressed. So just looking at the different discussion questions, I clearly saw, which is pretty normal, three types of thinking. The first was categorical ethics, that there are some things, regardless of the consequences, you just can't do. For instance, you can't turn the train to kill the one just to save 5 people because murder is just wrong. Obviously, if you believe that, then you're not going to push the fat man, and you're certainly not going to harvest the organs or eat the young guy when you're marooned on the ship. One of the things that I tried to do, and I want you guys to think about, really my role in this course, beyond teaching you a few theories and things like that. You guys are intelligent, so you can learn those theories on your own. But is to think of exceptions to those theories and to challenge some of those theories, because it's often difficult to formulate one theory that's going to work in every situation. And with categorical ethics, some of the things that I questioned on the discussion forum are do the numbers ever really matter? One of the students, I posed her a question. If it were 5,000 instead of 5, would that make a difference? And she responded that it wouldn't, and then I responded, what if it were 50,000 or 500,000 or 5 million for that point? Do the numbers ever make a difference? For instance, this is kind of a kooky example, but oftentimes philosophy examples aren't the most realistic. But for instance, say that a mad scientist has somehow, when someone was sleeping, implanted a chip in their brain. This is an innocent individual. They implanted a chip in this person's brain so they can control them. And they have decided to use them to deliver, let's say, to deliver a nuclear weapon to a major city in the United States, Washington, D.C., New York City, whatever. And through some channels you find out that they have this plan, and if you don't kill this person, and you say that's the only recourse you have is to kill this person. If you don't kill this person, they're going to deliver this nuclear weapon, even though they're innocent. They're being controlled by someone else, they're going to deliver this nuclear weapon and wipe out the entire city of Washington, D.C. or New York, or a sizable portion of that. Can you say that if you know that they're going to kill all those people, that you still would not act to kill that person? So just scenarios like that, thinking about, do the consequences ever play a role? So opposed to that, the next theory was consequential reasoning, which essentially says that, you know, whatever has the best consequences is what is the ethical thing to do. And there were several of you that also held to that position. And on the flip side of that, you know, I would say, are there ever times where, even though the consequences may not seem to be the best, that you still should act in another way that can be ethical? For instance, one student was talking about, I think it was Chelsea maybe, or Caitlin, no, it was Caitlin, talking about productivity towards society. And essentially the right thing to do is whatever is the most productive for society. And, you know, I raised the point, what about people who are mentally incapacitated and who can't contribute to the utility of society through producing? Does that mean that we should spend resources to take care of those people, which is drawing away from the productivity of society for someone who is not productive? Does that person deserve any rights? Or even babies, for that matter. I mean, obviously babies are not productive members of society, but yet we do seem to think that people who are incapacitated, or people who are not necessarily producing, do have rights. So the question becomes, if you're a hard consequentialist, how do you handle cases like that? And then there was a third category of people who, in some cases, thought, you know, it's okay to turn the trolley to kill the one to save five, but yet they would not push the fat man off the overpass to stop the train. And essentially, what that comes down to is another school of philosophy. I don't think Sandel mentions this in his lecture, but there's another famous school of philosophy. It's known as particularism, which means that essentially there are no, or there are very limited amount of moral principles that guide our actions, but rather, when we're deciding what the ethical thing to do is, we have to look at the particulars of every situation. Because if you try to apply the rule that you used to save the five, and by killing the one in the first trolley scenario, and you try to apply that to the bridge, you see that the particulars of the situation, even though the general principle seems to be the same, the contributing factors are quite different. And whether that's, some people pointed out, because you were more directly involved, you know, whereas you seem to be much more of an overlooker, or an onlooker rather. When you're on the train, you're sort of just presented with that situation and you have to make a quick decision. It's okay to turn the trolley to the one to save the five. Whereas if you push the fat man off the bridge, you're more directly involved and you're actually committing an act of murder. So those particulars of the situation make it a bit different. Another particulars consideration that someone mentioned was looking, I think this was Ronnie, looking at the value of the person involved in the scenario. For instance, if President Obama or someone's mother were the one person, of course they would turn the track, or if they were if they were the one person, then the person would probably not turn the track, but would let the trolley continue and kill the five. So, the particulars of whoever constitutes which group you're in can also lead to your decision. Of course, the question becomes with that, is that an ethical decision? Is that the right thing to do? It may be what you would do because you do place a higher value on that person's life, but is it morally